there, welcome to Talento Doc, Topper Interview Series, a dimension beyond perfection. I am Neha Rao, a final year medical student at KIMS Bangalore. Talento Doc is a digital magazine revolving around the infinite world of medicine. From making concepts clear to helping out anybody's journey towards their dream career, it has anything and everything a medical student would need. Formed by a group of passionate individuals, we aim to make the ocean of medical information more accessible and comprehensible. We hope to provide you a medium through which you can unlock your full potential and develop the best version of yourself. For today's session, I'm delighted to inform and introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Shubhi Dubey. A first-year postgraduate student studying Master of Surgery, Obstetrics and Gynecology in the prestigious institute, Jawaharlal Institute of Postgraduate Medical Education, JIPMER, Pondicherry, India. She secured the 218th rank in the Institute of National Importance Common Entrance Exam known as INI-CET in November 2020, which is a common exam for premium institutes such as AIIMS, JIPMER, PGI, etc. She was born in Kanpur and brought up in Bangalore, did her schooling from Oxford School, JP Nagar, and did her undergraduation from KIMS Bangalore. She was part of the batch 2014 and passed out in 2019. Her hobbies include dancing, singing, and among others, traveling. Firstly, we welcome you, ma'am. Firstly, we would like to congratulate you on your super impressive achievement. How does it feel to be a topper and study at JIPMER?
Oh, honestly, it's a dream come true. The sort of exposure you get here is pretty incredible. Honestly, it's you need to see it to believe it, sort of a thing. It's obviously it's really overwhelming initially,
right.
But once you get the hang of it, you tend to get amazed on a very regular basis in a place like this.
Wow, that's wonderful. How did you feel when you got this rank, and what did your parents react to it?
Honestly, when the result came out, I cried actually because I wasn't sure if it was good enough to get a seat or not, because I'm from general merit, so it was a huge question mark for me at the moment, especially with the exam happening for the first time. Yes. Nobody really had an idea. But I'm not from a medical background, so for my parents, they were like extremely overjoyed. They were like, "It's okay, whatever it is, we're proud of you." I was pretty doubtful, honestly. Until I got the seat, I was very anxious.
Right, I see. It's definitely much more harder for anybody coming from general merit to get into these, let alone any institute, these premium institutes. I would like to dive into the questions for today. In general, as any medical student would love to know how we can be a topper. Right now, any medical student from first year to final year would love to know from you some tips and tricks to crack this exam. So broadly, I would like to start off with the question, how did you crack it? Is what anyone would like to know.
The PG entrance preparation per se, I started only after internship got over. So like in internship got over in Feb and the classes started in April, and that's when I started prepping. So I studied for a period of around 6 to 7 months before INI-CET happened. And then that's all. Before that, I didn't have the mindset to give the entrance exam during internship itself, because I wanted to study properly and try to get into a central institute. That time, but I think if you're asking for a medical student per se, I think looking back, the one thing which really helped me out was that if your undergraduation basics are strong, especially your second year and your final year subjects, if they're good and you have a good basic foundation to build upon, it'll really, really help. Like, the better your foundation, the easier it will be for you to prep. So I think for an MBBS student per se, I would say don't study just to pass the exam. Try to actually understand the concept. That will actually help you a lot.
Okay, wonderful. Like you mentioned, the duration of preparation was post-internship, so around 6 months you prepared. Any strategy which you had laid out before you started preparation, or did it flash to you during or anything?
No, my basic strategy was just to stay up to date with the live classes we were having. So the daily classes which we used to have online, I used to try to make sure that after the class gets over, to go through the notes once and to solve the corresponding question paper question banks on the Marrow, which I use as my MCQ source.
Yes.
So I should try to make sure I stayed up to date on that on a daily basis. And apart from that, it's just, I think the one main strategy would be to keep revising constantly.
Right. Yes. Okay. And did you know that when you started preparation, or did it flash to you later during preparation?
The revision bit. The revision bit, I think once a month of classes got over, sort of I started revising, because I had a feeling I was already losing touch with the subjects which were taught in the first month. So once that happened, I started revising.
Right. Okay.
And when you join any classes, they'll give you this cumulative subject test. So I think that will help you stay on track too, in terms of revision.
Right. So what were the resources that you used during your preparation?
I had joined Bhatia for the live classes actually. So the online classes I attended from Bhatia. After that, for the MCQs and the grand tests, I used Marrow as my MCQ source. And because I actually subscribed to it during internship, so it was a familiar platform for me. So I continued with that. And apart from that, I didn't use any guidebooks or MCQ books or anything like that.
Okay.
I just used the free resources.
What was your method of study? Could you describe a day in the life of your preparation? So what were the resources that you used during your preparation?
I had joined Bhatia for the live classes actually. So the online classes I attended from Bhatia. After that, for the MCQs and the grand tests, I used Marrow as my MCQ source. And because I actually subscribed to it during internship, so it was a familiar platform for me. So I continued with that. And apart from that, I didn't use any guidebooks or MCQ books or anything like that.
Okay.
I just used the free resources.
What was your method of study? Could you describe a day in the life of your preparation?
Okay, so usually our classes used to start at 12 in the noon. So mostly, since I'm not a morning person, I used to wake up only around 11 a.m. to be honest. I used to wake up, take a shower, have breakfast, sit for class. We used to usually go until 8 o'clock in the evening, I think, with like a break or two in between. So once class gets over, it's suppose 8, I'll take a break for half an hour, go drink some coffee or something like that. Yeah. And then I'll sit and revise the notes of whatever is being taught today, whatever I've noted down. I'll sit and read through all of that once. That'll take maybe 1.5 hours at the max, because like you've just listened to the class, everything's fresh in your mind. So and you know exactly why you've written whatever you've written. Right. So that'll not really take long. So it'll take 1.5 hours by that time. Suppose it's like 10:30. Then take like a dinner break. And then after that, come back and solve the corresponding MCQ modules on Marrow. And if once the preparation progressed a bit more, say towards June, July, like after that from like 12 to 1 or 1:30, revise the older subjects, and that's it. Then I used to go to school.
Okay, wow. Did this pattern change over the months, or was it more or less constant?
Pattern changed. Obviously, initially I was sleeping for like 10 hours a day. That gradually reduced as the exam came nearer, and we had to spend more time revising the older subjects. And the classes, the duration got longer eventually. It started becoming like 10 hours, 12 hours, like that. But apart from that, no, I used to make sure I slept enough, ate enough, took adequate breaks.
That's wonderful.
It was maybe slightly easier because we had the lockdown and we had online classes, right? So we used to save the time which would have gotten wasted commuting. So we had that benefit in a way.
Very true. In the era of Netflix and chill and social media being our best friends, how did you cope up with distractions, and did you watch any shows during that time?
No, see, the thing was our classes were online, right? I was so fed up of seeing a screen. that I sort of really stopped watching Netflix. I think the only thing I watched the entire year was Friends. You know, my sister is a huge Friends addict.
Yeah.
She was watching on TV on like Netflix, whatever episode she's watching randomly, maybe I'll sit and watch some 20 minutes if I'm like really in need of a break.
Right.
Otherwise, I use Instagram quite a lot actually. So, but then I had to cut down a bit. So I put a timer on my phone for like 30 minutes. That slowly I started reducing. By the end of it, just before the exam, I had like a 5-minute timer. Like, okay, 5 minutes of Instagram a day. That's good.
Okay. So that's a message to all of the young people who are watching this and who are constantly on their phones throughout the day. So we have a lot to learn, but we'll get at it. Okay, coming to the next question, I would like to ask, how did you start off doing MCQs? Was it subject-wise, or how did you go about the method of doing MCQs?
MCQs, one I told you, right? Whatever you are having, whatever you're being taught, the same day do the corresponding modules like it. And then I used to do grant tests on Marrow, which is a mix of all the 19 subjects. So I think one essential thing is even before you start your preparation to give one grant test on Marrow. So you know basically how much your baseline is and how much the scope of improvement is. And so you keep giving grant tests regularly once a month. And then as the exam comes nearer, maybe twice a month.
Okay.
That'll give you a very good, because it's also difficult to keep switching between subjects. You know, if you're giving only subject-wise tests, you're like focus entirely on one subject. But it's different when you're giving 19 subjects worth of tests together. So I used to I did topic-wise MCQs and then grant tests. I didn't do like subject-wise MCQs per se. Like Marrow has those modules of like subject-wise tests. I never really did those because I thought it's not feasible to only focus on one subject so much. It's always better to mix that. In terms of that, I think most platforms now offer the customized module where you can choose a few random subjects and it'll give you a mixed bag of MCQ options. I think I saw that towards the end of my prep phase. I think that's a good way to go about it.
Okay. Did you see any trends? Like how long did it take for you to start getting good ranks on these grant tests, and how did you keep the motivation to continue?
Initially, I think it will definitely take a while because the entire process. It's like answering MCQs is an art of itself. You might know the subject, how to answer an MCQ is itself really hard because they frame it in a way they know I will confuse you. So it'll take a while, but once you get the hang of it, max I think 1 to 2 months. After that, it becomes slightly easier. It's okay, I think, whatever your rank is, as long as it's improving. So for me, even if it was a very small improvement, as long as it was an improvement, it's okay. Because the thing is, it's a long process. It's 6 to 7 months. Nobody can constantly keep doing their best. So it's okay if one time you did slightly worse or just as good as the last time. It's okay. You need to just be like, okay, it's a slightly lower phase and you will come out of it and automatically improve. But you need to, the thing is, when you're going into a low phase, you should just motivate yourself to keep going to see what the end result is instead of like giving up or feeling frustrated.
Very true, very true. Towards the end, where did you fit in the revision schedule in your daily life?
After the classes got over, we had 30 days to revise. So in that, I tried to put in 2 revisions, which were one for like, I think we had 35 days. So I split it as a 20-day, 15-day sort of thing. One like more in-depth revision and the other one was a slightly more superficial revision.
Okay.
Towards the end, like when the classes were still going on, I used to sacrifice a little bit on sleep, cut it down to 6 hours, 7 hours, and then try to revise for 2 to 3 hours a day, the older subjects at least, especially the major subjects which have like weightage.
Okay. Right. I see. More importantly, these exams depend on the number of times you revise and how much you retain from those revisions. So revision is a very important factor which determines anybody's rank. Coming to time management, like you already mentioned, just a touch on that for anybody starting off for this exam.
During the preparation phase, you mean?
Yes.
Time management, like I said, a huge bulk of your day will actually be gone in the class. But I think, despite that, on a daily basis, or initially, at least till you get the hang of it and you get into the flow, I think all you need to put in is an extra 3 hours, like 1.5 hours to read, 1.5 hours to make notes, which will initially still give you enough time to do a little bit of extra stuff. I remember initially I used to still like draw something or watch something, or like, because it was the lockdown and everyone was all in on the new cooking trends, I used to go do that. Initially you will have, and once you get the thing is, you shouldn't stress yourself out all of a sudden, so you need to start slow. So initially you can take it slower. Once you get used to it, it's hard to study for 12 hours a day. Once you get used to it, you can start pushing yourself a little more, 12 hours, 14 hours, something along that line.
Right. That takes a lot. I think it takes some amount of time to get into that phase. Like any car would start an engine, we would like to start off in first gear and then gear up.
Yeah. But having said that, it's also important. I mean, it's really, really stressful, to be honest. It's a very stressful year. I think more stressful than any of your MBBS years. So it's very important to also like take care of yourself, take a break whenever you need it. Even if it's like a few hours or 1 to 2 days, whatever it is, if you really feel like you need a break, you totally deserve it. You should definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. Touching on the same point, how did you keep your motivation throughout the 6 months of preparation? What really drove you? Did you have things stuck up on your wall, or what kept the wheels running?
There was a bunch of things. One, like, to be honest, because I'm from a non-medical background, initially when I joined MBBS, it was just like, okay, I got the seat, so I took it. It wasn't really like a goal or aspiration or something I really worked towards. But being in MBBS, I was like, okay, the next step, I should have a goal. So first of all, it was my objective that, okay, I want to do my post-graduation from a really good place. Yes. So that was there. That used to keep me driven. I used to daydream a lot about getting into a central institute and like living the good life and all those things. Secondly, I use obviously like stick up stuff on your whatever motivational stuff and like subject related stuff. You can stick up both on your walls. Like my friend used to tell me, like if by the end of the year your walls aren't completely filled, that means you've done something wrong. Is what he used to tell. And like obviously take a break. Your family will definitely be a very good support system for you. So every time you feel like over pressured or anything like that, definitely take a break, spend time with your family. I think your family is all the more important this year because like all of your friends will probably be in the same boat as you. So it doesn't make sense to go and trip to someone else who is probably feeling the same way. So that time, like being with your family is really helpful. It's really supportive.
Right. Okay. Did you have any study partners, or were you a solo study person?
No. My entire prep phase was like during the bulk of the COVID lockdown. So there was no concept of going out at all. It was we were just indoors for like 24 hours.
Yeah. Okay, coming to the ending part of this interview, we would like to just ask you why you chose obstetrics and gynecology as your field.
To be honest, I hadn't singled out OBG. Like for me, it wasn't like, okay, I have to do OBG only and nothing else. Okay. But I did find one of the major subjects, so that would like narrow it down to medicine, surgery, OG, or peds. Right. Surgery, I thought would be a little too hectic, and having a lot of people told me in central institutes the surgical exposure may or may not be that good. Okay. So for that, I ruled it out. Mm-hmm. In the end, narrowed it down mostly to OG and peds. I wanted one of these major subjects, where I can actually feel like, okay, I'm saving lives, or I'm making a huge impact. That's right. One of those quick things. Yeah, so that's why I wanted one of these major subjects. So in the end, when I narrowed it down to OG and peds, I put a mix and match based on which stream is better, where like a few places OG was on top, a few places peds was on top. Mm-hmm. And then I got JIPMER OG, and it was too good to give up. Like a senior from KIMS itself, Madhuri Makam, was in JIPMER, so I talked to her personally. Okay. And she told me really good things. It was too good to give up. And then, obviously, I don't regret the decision at all.
Never look back. Yeah. Okay.
I like the subject more now than I did when I chose it. So I think that's great.
That's great. Any advice you would like to give for any of our viewers watching right now who are doing their medicine?
If you're doing your medicine, one thing obviously, if you're still an undergraduate student, like I said, just make sure your basics are strong. But at the same time, I feel like nowadays, even MBBS students, you're supposed to be an all-rounder. Like, please don't just keep sitting behind the books and reading all the time, which is why I usually try to discourage people from joining all these coaching classes in the undergrad years itself.
Okay.
I usually suggest to wait till internship or after internship gets over, because then for that limited period of time, give it your 100%. Because honestly, I think that will be enough. No need to slog for the same thing for like 3 to 4 years of your life.
Right.
Secondly, prepping for like a PG entrance exam, give it your 100%, even if it's 6 months. Like, if you give it your 100%, it's going to be more than enough. And honestly, it's really required, because I feel like where you do your post-graduation from, your exposure you get sort of really determines the kind of clinician you're going to become in the future and the sort of opportunities you get in the future. So if you're prepping for your entrances now, definitely give it your 100%. And at the end of the day, it's the most selfish thing you will do. Like, the only one who will benefit from it is you yourself. So yeah, there's no reason to not give it your best.
Right. Wonderfully put.
I mean, it's a very blatant truth. Like, nobody else will care where you're doing your post-graduation.
You have to
the only one it will make a difference to is you yourself. That's why you usually should do it for yourself.
Very true. And what we do in these years, I think in our 20s, determines at least another 6 decades of our life career-wise. So for all those young, inspired people out there, we have to get the wheels running and not lift the paddle off the gas.
Anyway, irrespective of where you are, so might as well slog like a 5% more and get the extra edge is what I would suggest.
Very true. Very true. It was wonderful talking with you, Dr. Shubhi Dubey. Thank you so much for taking off the time of your busy schedule. Post-graduation is no walk in the park, and in obstetrics and gynecology, we have night duties and whatnot. But it's such a privilege to speak to you and know that you're doing great in such a premium institute. And it's really inspiring that you could spend today your time and inspire young MBBS students to take up this obstetrics and gynecology and any other field in medicine and take the whole specialty to greater heights. We really appreciate that you could do this interview with us, and your words will truly help all of us and in achieving and following your footsteps. Thank you so much.
It's great being here.